The Mustard Act is designed and created by Tom House. Tom is an old friend of mine. You may recognize the name. He was Nolan Ryan's pitching coach with the Rangers. And he and Nolan have become very good friends. And Tom's been working in Southern Cal. Is he still working at the university?
No, not anymore. He's just been doing private stuff.
Yes, he's had some health issues, but worked at the University of Southern California for years after his years in football. And he's kind of like, he's been one of the leading gurus of pitching and pitching development in the United States and around the world, actually, because Tom's gone over to Japan and Korea. He's been all over. And the Mustard Act came about because of ideas that Tom had. And we're very pleased today, and we're fortunate to have Weston Lombard with us. And Weston is an assistant coach at University of Wisconsin at River Falls, another Wisconsin guy. Actually, he's from Minnesota, so, you know, Vikings, Packers, that kind of stuff, you know, that gets in the way once in a while.
That's cool.
But I'm very pleased to have him here. And he's going to explain a little bit of how the Mustard Act works. And we do have 2 subscriptions as raffle prizes. 2 Mustard apps as raffle prizes that might get you interested. It's not in fact, it does the same thing Rapsodo does.
But for your body, yeah.
For the body. And Rapsodo is a lot more expensive. So I don't know if any of you can afford to have Rapsodos. Does anyone have Rapsodo in here? In your club? See? You can have Mustard for a lot of bucks. So, Weston, all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Today I want to talk about how Mustard can get pitchers better through objective feedback and our process-driven training. So super quick personal intro. I'm the head of baseball development at Mustard. I got involved with them in the fall of 2021. They were still in beta. I was in college. I was trying to get better at pitching. I was looking for solutions, and I stumbled across them. And what I really liked about them was, 1, who was involved, and 2, everything made sense to me. It was digestible, and then it ended up helping me get better. So I worked with them as an intern when I was still playing baseball in college at University of San Francisco. Finished up there. Played a little bit of pro ball for the New York Boulders that fall, or that summer into the fall, and then started full-time with Mustard. So I've been full-time with them since 2023. Just finished up another year of pro ball in the American Association with the Winnipeg Goldeyes. And then recently in the last year, like Tom talked about, I started coaching at a university as a pitching coach, and then started a facility with a couple of my friends in a small town called River Falls, and it's called Big Fish Performance. So we do a lot of youth stuff, just launched some teams this fall, but really focus on youth baseball development. And before I go farther into this, my presentation looked really good, and then we put it into PowerPoint and changed some of the formatting, so you may break a little bit. Okay, so Mustard's core philosophy. So our mission at Mustard really is to democratize the world's best coaching and technology in sports. And it really started from a question that Tom and a co-founder asked, and it was, how many Nolan Ryans do we think there are in the world that either never picked up a baseball or quit too early? And that's really what launched Mustard. And so what we did was we partnered with leading instructors in sport. For baseball, obviously, that's Tom House. We did launch golf just over a year ago, and we partnered with Mark Blackburn, who's Golf Digest's #1 golf instructor, and Justin Rose as well. And then we use our proprietary AI and computer vision to help determine strengths and weaknesses of athletes in different sports. Obviously, I'll be talking about baseball today. And then through those report cards, we then go a step further and give you personalized training and feedback. So why tech matters? I believe that consistent objective feedback can really accelerate learning. One of the sayings is, what gets measured can be improved, and I think that's something that Mustard does a really good job of. So those numbers that you see on report cards, or just in general in tech, can start to objectify a lot of things that our eyes see, or things that we talk about, but now we can start to quantify those things. Then visuals, those can supplement the numbers and really help coaches and, more importantly, athletes start to have that light bulb moment when you see a number. The number's kind of meaningless until you know what's behind that, and visuals can help with that. Also helps with feel versus real, right? An athlete may feel like they're doing one thing, but then you see the numbers or you see the visualizations and something completely different is happening. And then feedback loops are also super important. So as we can start to work on specific mechanical variables or things within our pitching delivery, if we can start to have feedback loops that show us that we're improving, it helps kind of accelerate that learning process. So, how we improve pitchers. So, the first thing we do is we identify foundational strengths and weaknesses in the pitching delivery. Then we educate the athlete or the coach on the why behind everything. It's one thing to get data, but if you don't know why those things are important or why you should be doing these things that you're being prescribed, it's not really going to click. And then 3, we develop processes for long-term health and give individualized training based on those report card results. So we don't just tell you what you're good at and what you stink at, we give you a plan to actually get better at those things. So where does the data come from? This was a really big thing for me when I was looking for things that could get me better at pitching, especially as stuff started to come out in tech. One of our investors likes to talk about artificial intelligence is only as good as the intelligence that it's built on. And looking through Mustard and talking with Tom, it's built off of over 40,000 3D motion capture analysis from some of the best pitchers of all time that Tom House had either coached directly or had done motion captures, with the actual dots on the body back in the day and putting the cube out there and calibrating it. So it's built off of a really big database. And really what Tom was looking for was no one throws the exact same, right? Everyone lifts their leg a little different. They throw from different slots, arm actions. Everyone has kind of what we call unique biomechanical signatures. But what were the things that the best of all time had in common, right? And one thing that Tom likes to say is there's one set of rules and a million different interpretations. And I think that really applies just in baseball development in general. One thing to note, in our report card, there's a lot of ranges, but within those ranges, there's nuance to everything. There's outliers. So again, there's one set of rules, a million different types of interpretations. And then our report card is regression based. And so what that means is of the things that we measure, certain things are more important and have a bigger impact on the entire delivery. And we're going to focus on those things first. So if you have one thing that's going to impact the whole delivery and another thing that's going to impact just one thing, we're going to have you work on the thing that impacts the whole delivery first. So what's in a Mustard report card? We'll go over all of these. I'm just going to list these out first. The first one's timing into foot strike. Second is head balance. Third is posture. 4 is stride length. 5 is torque retention. 6 is lift and thrust. 7 is stack and track. 8 is swivel and stabilize. And then the 9th is kinematic sequencing. Now, a lot of those are what we call some pitching jargon. You may have never heard of these terms before, but as I explain it, I'm sure you've talked about it in the past. So the first one, timing into foot strike. So what we're looking for here is from first move to foot strike to be in about a second or less. That is from when I come set, when I first lift my leg, and I get to landing in about 1 second. This is the most important metric that we measure. It's also the one that I was the most skeptical of when I first looked at this app, but then I took out my stopwatch and started watching big leaguers do it, and I was like, these guys move way too smooth. Like, there's no way they're going that fast, but that's why they're big leaguers. So many pitchers are really unstable and they move too slow. So when you combine instability and moving slow, that's just a lot of time for bad things to happen. And by promoting some speed, we found that it really promotes a lot of self-organization in the throw, forces the body to have to move more efficiently to achieve a goal. Now, not all timing is created equally. I think Ubaldo brought up a really good point about this when he was talking yesterday about rushing. And we don't believe in rushing either. We believe in quality tempo. And so really what we found is that when you first tell a kid or tell someone to try to go faster, their first thing that they try to do is they grit their teeth, they muscle up, and they try to move really fast. But what we found is that the best way to do it is to just get better at relaxing. And when you tell pitchers to relax better or to focus on relaxation, it allows them to move faster naturally and under control. Some things to train timing, like I said, just being conscious of practicing relaxing, right? There's a million different drills, and I'll get into this kind of at the end, but a lot of those are just vessels to improve on whatever you want to work on, and I think one thing you can do is just actually work on relaxing better in your throw. Another, speed towels. That's literally taking a towel, stepping and throwing and going into the next one as fast as you can. All of these things that I'm talking about here are in the app and have videos for it, so if you're curious about it, feel free to stop by after and I can show you those videos and go into depth. Another one is step behinds, right? Just getting the body moving fast, forcing it to organize and throwing to a target, and then using a metronome or some form of a timing mechanism. I like to use one Mississippi. You could use one European, whatever you want to use from a timing mechanism. But that's kind of the tempo that you want to do to get into foot strike.
One Bratislava.
Wait, there you go. That one might be a little too slow. Okay, next one, head bounce. So this is measuring how many degrees you're pulling your head from your midline to release. And what we're looking for here is about 15 degrees or less. All of these visuals are visuals of my college guys. This guy had a lot going on. He was a lanky 6'5" freshman, threw 80 to 81 last year. At this point he was probably 82 to 84 after the fall. We've cleaned up a lot of this stuff. I don't have the afters. I can show you some video, but this fall he's been up to 90, and most of it's just from cleaning up his balance because he was just not in a position to fire. So really this is a big predictor of command. The big thing for us is, can we get our eyes level at release? That's one of the biggest things that we've seen that is a low-hanging fruit mechanically for a lot of people. We say that kind of helps you find your natural arm slot and the head is stable through release. Now, again, talking about outliers, right? There's been some guys that were really good this year. Trey Savage, right? He was the guy who really way up here, defies everything we just talked about. He's an outlier, good for him, and that's awesome. And there's gonna be people like that that are better pitching like that. We just found that it's easier to be good when you can keep your eyes level. Some ways to train it are through some constraints. So we like to do 2 knees and 1 knee throws. By doing that, it's really going to exaggerate the mistake, right? If you're on 2 knees and you're pulling your head, you're really going to feel it. You're probably going to almost fall over. It's going to be really hard to throw the ball far or to throw it to a target. So that's kind of a way to promote some self-organization. Same with rocker leaper, right? We're just here. And again, it's just with an emphasis on keeping our eyes level through release, keeping the head quiet. Another easy one for kids is you just put their hat on really loose, right? If I really yank my head, the hat's gonna fall off. So teaching them to be able to rotate without pulling their head, one, helps them rotate better, but two, if you're looking at the target, it's usually easier to see the target, and you can imagine trying to hit a target with your head like this versus like this, you're just a little bit more calibrated. So, eyes level. These are just a few examples of some guys that were pretty good. Pedro, there's Otani, Greg Maddux, Yamamoto, Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, Kershaw, Scherzer, Skubal, Skeens, Billy Wagner, Johan. And the commonality between all of these guys is that their eyes are level, but I think what's cool is that there's a ton of different arm slots, right? You got high slot, low slot, mid slot, but what they found was, where are my eyes level? Posture, so this is how your head maintains posture as you go down the mound. So we want to be able to maintain posture as we lift our legs so that we're in a position to provide power down the mound. We like to say wherever your back leg is at peak leg lift is kind of where it should be in our set position. So sometimes you'll see some people kind of sink in as they lift, and it's kind of canceling out some of the ground force that you can put in. So wherever you do get to at the top, that's kind of where we like to preset. We always say it takes 1,000 reps to change a movement, but it takes 1 rep to change a position. Some ways to train posture is get to that spot where you like your leg lift, and then just cross this back foot over and preset it, and now we just cross from here, lift, and do our throw. Some other ones, lift and lands.
Are these drills that are in the app that
Yep.
you guys can access them?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, all good.
I want to make that sure.
Torque retention. So this is basically, is the back shoulder rotating prematurely before we throw? There's a few side effects of this. It could be, pulling open early, trying to throw hard too early. This is one of the highest predictors of velocity in the app. So if a guy's passing this, they probably throw fairly hard. I like to use the plane runway analogy. The longer runway you have to take off, the easier it is on the plane, right? And so you can still take off with a short runway, but that means that you got to put a lot more force on that engine in order to achieve the same result. So if we can elongate the runway and stay a little bit more closed, that gives us more time to accelerate through release. A little bit easier on the body, gives us more time to get to a faster speed as well. How to train torque retention, knee throws as well. Again, similar drill, different intent, right? It's gonna force us to have to be efficient with our upper half in order to throw the ball far, right? We're taking the legs out of the equation. If we try to throw too early, we're just not giving ourselves any opportunity to accelerate the ball. So the ball will tell you a lot of feedback. Step behind's the same thing. Instead of keeping, focusing on our head, we're focusing more on just staying patient with our upper half. Some medicine ball throws, and then those are just some examples of constraints. Stride length. So one thing we like to say is to stride as far as you can without compensation. I think that's something that gets misunderstood from time to time. And to me, compensation is seeing the front leg reach, right? Kind of pulling ourselves out of our back leg. You'll see kind of the back leg extending really early or jumping, or the torso. I think Ubaldo was talking about this yesterday too, of everything kind of going forward this way. For us, there's a big difference between jumping and leaping. We promote leaping, and leaping is more about the foot and using your ankle to get that last little bit, I call it oomph, into landing versus doing it super early and kind of jumping out. If you can cut the distance, right, if we can get more extension naturally, that's going to give us faster perceived velocity. So how to train stride length, really it's more of a byproduct of going a little bit faster and some lift and thrust, which we'll talk about soon, and then just training like the actual mobility and physicality demands of being able to stride far, right? Being mobile, being explosive. If your body can't do it, then it's not going to do it. So it's something that should happen a little bit more naturally as a result of the rest of the throw. So lift and thrust. This is the degrees from the rubber that your front hip gets to by the time you get to the top of your leg lift. So really it's setting ourselves up to be able to accelerate down the mound. This helps us from getting stuck over the rubber, right? If we just lift straight up, the only thing we can really do to get going is push forward or shoot our hips a bunch. This helps us kind of have that natural giddy up without having to force it. How to train it? Again, practice going faster. You can't go fast if you don't go forward a little bit. The Hershiser drill is a good one to be able to do. With that one, I would say just focus on kind of having it be a gradual thing. It's not just about shooting our hips first, but being able to feel strong while we do that. And then the crossover drill, right? Same thing, you can work on it with posture, or you can work on your lift and thrust, because if I cross over and I get in an athletic position, right, you can see how I've already kind of created that angle, and now if I lift, I get that little bit of giddy up, and then I accelerate it down the mountain.
For those, the Hershiser drill is the one with the wall drill, basically?
Yeah, yes.
I just want to make sure everybody understood what that was.
Yep.
Okay.
Stack and track, so this is where the chest stays square to the target at release. This accounts for like the last 20% or so of energy transfer in the throw, right? The throw is linear, then it's rotational, and then it's linear. And really this is that last little oomph that you see. Some pitchers really exaggerate this. If you ever watch Max Scherzer throw, he's a great example of someone who does this extremely well, where he gets that extra little bit of oomph behind it. Nolan Ryan used to always tell Tom, he would say, "Tom, I want a grunt out front." And that was something that he really emphasized, was keeping his energy going to the target and not over-rotating. It's really common to see pitchers want to continue to spin, and you'll see their shoulders go like this at release. Makes it really hard to throw strikes. Again, it's one of those things where it can help you with command, because we're really just redirecting our energy to the target and not having distracting forces taking us left or right. Swivel and stabilize. So this is using our front side and our glove to be able to, one, send direction to the target, as well as kind of finish the distribution of energy up the kinetic chain. This is a really, really common flaw where the glove kind of continues to swim or pull you off of your target. This is a really large predictor of command for us. We see that when people start to fix their glove, they usually start to throw more strikes. And the way that you can train it, again, knee drill, it's another way, it's just another focus on it when you do it, is keeping our glove inside the width of our body at release. So instead of pulling it off, we're keeping the glove inside our body at release. Watch a big leaguer, you're gonna see most of them are right around here. You watch a lot of amateurs, they get out here. Some other little ones you can do, just putting baseballs in your glove. It's going to force those muscles on your front side to have to activate and keep it stable throughout the throw. Kinematic sequencing. So if you look at the graph here on the right, this is just kind of an example of really good sequencing. And what you'll see is kind of a series of ski slopes. And this is what you want your graph to be able to kind of look like. This is a really simplified version. But if you look here, these are my hips. So the hips peak. And as they decelerate, the shoulders then peak. And then the arm peaks, and then the wrist peaks. And it's a series of stops and starts that builds energy. If you're doing it in the right order, that energy should basically exponentially increase. If you start to try to throw too early, that's when stuff can get out of whack and you're not maximizing your kinematic sequencing. But really, with everything that I just talked about, patience in the throw is rewarded. I think one of the big things is that people try to throw, or they try to throw too hard or involve different muscles way too early. And really what we're looking for here is, can we be patient, right? Can we keep our direction for longer? Can we stay relaxed for longer? Can we let the good things that are supposed to happen in the throw actually happen? So to summarize all of this, everything that we measure is about producing energy and then keeping it aligned towards the target, right? Can we send energy through with speed and distance, and then once we land, can we keep that energy aligned to the target without things pulling us to the left or the right? Because if stuff is pulling us off this way, we have to compensate, one, to be able to perform to throw strikes, but two, it's going to cause other things to have to compensate to actually handle the forces of those throws. So if you can stay lined up, you should be able to throw hard easy. Two, consistency is king. Really, with changes and when you're working on mechanics, you see it all the time. Someone will have this like light bulb, unbelievable bullpen, they're up 3 miles an hour and they're like, I got it, and then they go out onto the mound in a game and it's gone. They go right back to their old habits. When adrenaline kicks in, you go back to what you know, and so stuff takes a lot of time to become sticky, so you have to be consistent with it. I talked about this a little bit before. What's measured can be improved. I think that's one thing that Mustard does a really good job of, is within our report card, we're able to measure the throw, and we're able to measure the things that actually matter, right? The stuff that, whether you're a high leg kick or a low leg kick or a high arm slot, low arm slot, those are your biomechanical signatures, but we measure the things that actually matter. It's also personally adaptive. So like I talked about with a lot of these drills are just a vessel to work on the things that you need to work on in the delivery. So if one of those drills isn't quite clicking for an athlete, that's where you as a coach need to learn how to adapt those drills to make it work. For example, with a torque toss throw, if both of my feet are facing here and I'm trying to make a throw and this is not clicking for me, thank you. One thing that has helped is sometimes just opening up the feet a little bit to give them a little bit more space to rotate, especially if they're not a very mobile person. If they're a little bit more tightly wound, being able to open that has helped people with that. But that's kind of where you as a coach can use the Mustard app with a lot of those suggested drills as a template to help you figure out solutions for your players. And then it comes down to understanding your player, what are their physical limitations, how do they like to be communicated with, and then how can we make those drills work for them. Same thing with our pre-throw and our arm care stuff. Those are things that you can add. You can add weight, you can add repetitions, you can add resistance, right? It's personally adaptive to be able to make it work for an 8-year-old or a big leaguer. And then within Mustard, we're able to measure all those things and kind of give you the template for that. Any questions?
You have examples of all this stuff on your computer that you can show people if they're interested in looking at some of the drills?
Yeah, I mean, we got the app on my phone, and we can just play in the sandbox and kind of go through everything.
So if any of you have, want to see some of this in action, grab Weston, go out in the hall and take a look at some of his apps.
And one thing to show too is in order to get these report cards, you literally just have to video your person throw from the front view like this and the side view like this, tag which player it is, and press submit, and we do everything else for you. You get that report card in about 5 minutes. So it's pretty easy to use. We can do it with individuals, or you can do it for a team where you can see all of your players, track their progress, give them access to the app for their own training, and we also do it for organizations as well.
Do we have any pictures here? Yeah. You're still throwing? It would be kind of interesting maybe if we could film him.
Yeah.
With a towel.
Yeah, I brought a towel so we can...
Maybe sometime later we'll be able to, maybe during the question and answer session at the end of the day, maybe show him online with how he's raised.
Yeah, if anyone wants a report card, we'll find an open space and we'll take the towel and we'll get you one. So feel free to try it.
Any questions for Weston?
I know hips, I have no frame in shoulders.
It's a fantastic app. You just have to see it. All you have to do is photograph, video your guys, and they do all the work for you. Just submit it on software. It's really cool. I've seen it in action. It's hard to show because you have to have individual photos or individual videos for it. Weston, I'll be glad to share what he has with you anytime. So again, we're going to go back here.
You can do multiple pitches. So if you wanted to do 3 from the front and 3 from the side, you can do that.
Is there a plan to extend and introduce softball as well?
Yeah, I mean, basically we are a sports tech coaching company, and it started with baseball. We got into golf, and we're looking to be able to get into other sports as well. I don't have a timeline for softball though.
It'll get to softball.
Yeah.